Bitcoin standard C. It's the Bitcoin standard law. It's the Bitcoin standard C.
It's almost like as if we had planned it. While very few seem to understand it, it's really very simple. Bitcoin standard. It's like underhanding the underhanded, the advantage over the archlords, the last laugh, because that is what is standard. The grand plan and also the greatest work, returning of us, valuing all of our time for the value we make it worth. Gone are the days of us opening paper purses, handed away, hodling tight, counting the days to hyper-Bitcoinizationing world. Time for bankers to move over, cause they no longer rule over us. They no longer owning us. They've no longer got us groveling for all their golden dust. Owe us nothing neither though. Bitcoin standard told you cuz. The rules are set and dated, now they're ours. Ancient establishment fading away, taking the place. Round of applause, my club is here to dip your fucking boat. So best to be grabbing the oars. Number going up, fuck the moon, we're here to be roaming the stars.
Bitcoin standard, y'all. It's the Bitcoin standard C. The Bitcoin standard is how we plan it for you and me. It's the Bitcoin standard, y'all. It's the Bitcoin standard C. It's the Bitcoin standard, it's how we plan it for the family. It's the Bitcoin standard, y'all. It's the Bitcoin standard C. It's the Bitcoin standard, it's how we plan it for you and me. It's the Bitcoin standard, y'all. It's the Bitcoin standard C. It's the Bitcoin standard, it's how we plan it for the family.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or even maybe good night to everybody. Thank you so much for joining me today in this live with a very bad news. Apparently, I didn't even realize it, but Bitcoin died in the last few days. And almost like the last live stream, it died instantly. But it obviously did not really die for the few people. But it is really fascinating to watch the Bitcoin market go through those like small cycles of like, oh, it goes up, it's all-time high, it goes down 10%, everyone is freaking out, and then we're going up 3% again, and like, oh yeah, I guess everything is okay again. As always, in the beginning of the episode, we are at what block height are we at? Let's see. Let's check it out. We are at the block height of 918760. At the current exchange rate of Bitcoin to US dollar of 11417. So like 114 US dollar, and you're currently getting for just one US dollar, you are getting 876 satoshis. That's freaking amazing. Really cheap AF, as Jason Hutches kind of showed here. It is extremely cheap. Bitcoin is it's tremendously how cheap Bitcoin currently is. But yeah, as Michael said here in his post, Bitcoin is dead again. And it was fun enough. It was at 115 US dollar, and it went down even a little bit more back then. Oh gosh, that's later. Oh gosh, that's an old post. I thought this was a new post. I'm so sorry, but it would actually fit also when he posted it on Friday with the same price, with the same thing. That's so funny. That's what basically happened on Friday. We're going up the all-time high, and then we can quickly actually show see what's happening on the price chart. It is the story that Bitcoin has been riding for so many times already. We are at an all-time high. Everyone is celebrating, and then there's like one small thing coming out. The president is talking about it. I was like, oh, like China. And all of a sudden, people are freaking out. All of a sudden, people are like, oh, what is going on? What is going on with my Bitcoin? And then people that don't know better actually, I'm very scared. I better sell all my Bitcoin right now. I better sell everything right now. And this is what happened. Like we went on Friday, we went down from 122,000 all the way to 110,000 US dollars. We went there basically for the whole weekend. Now we are shooting up again. Today we are up 3.22%. I mean, it really doesn't matter at this point. If you're always having like ups and downs. You have those lows in there. You have those highs in there. And without the Twitter community, I probably wouldn't even have noticed that we went down. And I think there's one amazing. Oh, oh gosh, there's one tweet. Yeah, I thought that. I mean, you can think about Anthony Pompliano, whatever you want. He went down like with some bad sponsorships, some bad ways, but sometimes he has really really good tweets. And he was one of the guys that actually orange pilled me in 2020. And Anthony said here, if you sold on Friday because of a social media post, does that mean you have to buy tomorrow morning because of this one? And this is exactly the point of like, okay, you're selling Bitcoin because you have fear that something might happen. Now, okay, something out of hand, like, oh, I guess I have to buy again. And all that really happened is that you sold Bitcoin, you gave to all the exchanges a 1% fee, and then you had no Bitcoin. Oh gosh, now it goes up again. I have to buy again, and you give the exchanges another % fee. So the only one benefiting from all of that are exchanges, nobody else. You're not benefiting from it, and so like the best thing you could just do through all that amazing fear. I mean, look at that. We are currently at a 31 fear of the crypto fear and greed index. Is there a Bitcoin fear and greed index? Probably there is. But yeah, let's just stick with the crypto one for the time being. And this is crazy. We are at 114,000 US dollars. We are up 22.76% in the last year to date. So from 1st of January till today, 12th of October. We are up 83.41% in the last 1 year. We are up 909.27% in the last 5 years. And now look at that craziness. In the last 9 years, we are up, 25,121%. That's absolutely ridiculous. And now people are like, oh, I'm very fearful. It is so... I'm in big panic right now. I don't know what to do. I'm so fearful. And this is just ridiculous for me. Of course, I understand the volatility, especially if you're new, especially if you're someone like, oh, maybe it's like going down a little bit, going up a little bit. It definitely is scary, to say the least. I know before Bitcoin, I was a stock picker. And one of the stocks that was in my portfolios, pretty big actually, was Tesla. And Tesla really prepared me for Bitcoin. I was never scared of the Bitcoin volatility because Tesla kind of prepared me for that. Tesla went down and down and down and then up again and then down again and then up again. And then Elon Musk went on Joe Rogan and it goes down like 10-20% on one day. And I'm like, what is happening? Do I have to sell now? And I know, and I'm so thankful for those YouTubers back then that said like, oh, if you're selling just because like Elon Musk went on a podcast, like then you haven't earned to earn the gains that you will get from holding through that. And this is always what I also say with Bitcoin. If you are now selling just because something weird happens in the market, you don't deserve the gains you will have over the next couple of years and decades from Bitcoin. So man, a lot has been happening. Time to look in the chat. What's going on? 50 gifts. What the heck is that? I have no clue what gifted 50 Robin Seyr memberships means. I literally never got that. I just started with live streaming. So thank you so much, MB, for doing that. For maybe someone can explain it to me. But it is definitely, thank you so much for that. I really appreciate that. I have to look into later what does this even mean, 50 Robin Seyr memberships. I guess to the YouTube account. So did you give 50 memberships to other people, so other people can if they're now on the live stream, they can now be a member of the podcast and a member of the YouTube channel? I guess that's what it is. So thank you so much for doing that. I will do more live stream research to see what does this even mean. Let's see. Yeah, absolutely. I'm live. I will be live 4 times a week. Will be freaking amazing. I already love it. Also, Gary's again here. Good evening. Yeah, absolutely. We are back again on the live stream. AI Rebel Creations. I've just reached 50% of my 0.1 Bitcoin goal. That's freaking amazing. Congratulations, man. Don't tell anyone how many Bitcoin you have, but you already told, so congratulations. Like that's freaking amazing. Retire your bloodline, guys. Gold can be mined. Don't fall for it. Yeah, that is very, very true. So back with the show. We have today the topic of 0.1 Bitcoin and 0.1 Bitcoin, how big of a deal that actually is. And I get a lot of crap for that. I get a lot of BS for that, especially on Twitter, sometimes also on YouTube, where people push back of like 0.1 Bitcoin will never be anything. And I have some math here today, and I have some interesting videos here today to show you it might be more than you think. It might just be more than you think. Maybe also not. Maybe after I show you the math, you're like, oh yeah, like it's actually not that much. But I think 0.1 is already a lot. And I want to start with that actually. I wanted to show it to you later, but I will have a presentation actually next week on Saturday, I think, in Bulgaria at BTC Balkans. So if anyone is there for BTC Balkans in Europe, I will be giving a presentation there. And there is one, if I've learned one thing of my 600 plus episodes on the podcast, it is this very slide. People underestimate the impact of Bitcoin, but overestimate the speed of the adoption. And so what do I mean by that? We always say, oh yeah, like we think that Bitcoin has a cap somehow. We think, oh yeah, it can go to 100K. Oh, but it cannot go beyond that. Oh yeah, it already showed it is beyond 100K. It might go to 1 million, but like, oh, can it really reach 2 million? Oh yeah, it will. It most likely will. Like I just say most likely to be safe. But honestly, I'm very convinced of that. Oh, but it can never reach 10 million, right? Oh, but it can never reach 100 million, right? And you will be surprised how weak a weak currency like the US dollar, like the euro, like the yen, like any one of them will look like against Bitcoin. But most people make the mistake of saying, oh, it will be like next year, right? Bitcoin will grow up and will be speed adoption, and we have hyper Bitcoinization in 2 years and everything will be amazing. I don't think so. I think it will take some time to actually get there. I think Bitcoin is a slow growing machine and not something that we're like, oh yeah, like it all of a sudden like grows and massively goes up. I mean, I had Parker Lewis on my podcast 2 times already, and he told me this is absolutely happening. There is a suddenly phase, like he was the author of Gradually Then Suddenly, and there's a suddenly phase, and all of a sudden everything goes up like crazy. I personally think that might be taking a little bit longer. The suddenly phase might not just be that suddenly. Of course, as he described it, if one of the G3 nations hyperinflates, so and I challenged him a little bit on that, where okay, like what does it mean? What does it actually take for this suddenly part to actually go ahead and actually bring something for us of like this is the suddenly part that we are now seeing, like what is a trigger event for that. And he said if he sees one of the G3 nations, so the US dollar, the euro, and the yen, if one of those three nations or free currencies in that case is hyperinflating, so having the same inflation rate of like the Turkish lira or like the Argentine peso right now with like 100%, I think at 100% month over month, I think is the thing. So like it's a crazy amount of inflation that we need for the official definition of hyperinflation. But if we have anything close to like 200% a year, that already, in my view, more than counts for hyperinflation. So if we have something like that, we clearly see that this that one of the major currency is dying, and this will hyperinflate all the other bigger ones also, and the smaller ones anyways, and this will kind of trigger the suddenly part. I can get to that, like if this happens, but I think it will take a longer time till this is actually happening. And so all I wanted to say here, and it's I think a really important point. Let's add that back to the stage. All I'm saying here is people usually underestimate the impact of Bitcoin. So they say like, oh, 0.1 Bitcoin can never be a lot. But they completely overestimate how quickly this will go. They're like, oh yeah, it will never be a lot, but it will happen like next year. I'm like, oh no, like both is probably ridiculous. So what do we have here? Like, let's dive into the first. Oh, that's also want to show you guys beforehand. This was really, really cool to see from Carl B. Manger. He has sometimes really, really nice tweets. I love them. And he said, just a little reminder, plus 30% Bitcoin corrections during bull markets are the rule, not the exceptions. Don't be a weenie bee. Shut up and buy more BTC. He has 100%, he's 100% correct. When we go ahead and when we go ahead and we are going in a bull market, in each and every one of those bull markets, we have had multiple drawdowns, sometimes even of 30%. Now this drawback was not even 10%, and people were freaking out. So absolutely hysterical for me, this short like dip, and people like, oh, like what is happening? New member MB, thank you so much for becoming a YouTube member. Gary Smith, 0.1 BTC for someone with say $15,000 K net worth is amazing. 0.1 BTC for someone with $1 million net worth must stack harder. It's all relative. And this is a good point. Because if I say 0.1 Bitcoin, there will be a guy in there and saying, oh, 0.1 Bitcoin is out of reach. It's too high. He's maybe somewhere in Africa, and he tries to rack up his first $1,000 in Bitcoin. And he's like, another 9,000 I need, like over 9,000 even, like it's out of reach for me. I needed 10 years to rack out this $1,000, and I cannot get to this 10,000. But at the same time, there's someone sitting in New York City and telling me 0.1 Bitcoin, I need that on Tuesday. It's like, like my car is costing more a month than the 0.1 Bitcoin. Like, what are you talking about, Robin? So I get both comments, and this is a very true sentence of Gary, and that's why I wanted to show you the math thing, because I like doing things with averages. I like doing things with like on kind of the average level of seeing like what does this actually mean for us. And so when you look at the math, it really makes a lot of sense, but very, very true. If you have $1 million on the bank account and you only have 0.1 Bitcoin, you're doing it wrong, like very, very wrong. And if you have 0.1 Bitcoin and your total net worth is 15K, like you're doing amazing, like you're doing really, really good. And this is I love having Tony from the Bitcoin Way on my podcast, he always reminds me of wealth in the fiat world could be at some point just not doing anything. If you have wealth in stocks, in fiat currencies, in all of those fiat denominated assets, you might wake up one day in a Lebanon, in a Venezuela, in Argentina, and all of a sudden you see that all of those wealthy assets that you had is not worth anything anymore. You need real hard assets. Bitcoin is my favorite, maybe gold, maybe even real estate. But of all of those hard real assets, Bitcoin is my favorite. But you need some kind of hard asset that actually have tangible value and is not just some random number that someone tells you, oh, you have that, and it shouldn't be an IOU. IOU is the same thing than the Bitcoin, than like just having $1 million in your bank account if you have an IOU on Bitcoin. So let's go back. Let's see with the starting video of today. I just wanted to start those videos. I mean, we're already 21 minutes in, lucky number. But I wanted to start this video with one bullish small video. Yesterday, on Friday, there was Larry Lepar, and today there is Matthew Pines. So let's see what he has to say about a Bitcoin on the Coin Stories podcast. Natalie Prunell is rocking it.
To settle. And so it's kind of a stop back, right, that China's been using as a strategic weapon against the legacy dollar standard. And so in my mind, like a clever counter move would be pivoting to digital gold while China anchors on legacy gold. And if we can graph that digital gold emerging system, which is only $2 trillion right now, 10% of gold's market cap, then I think you could actually get one up on China, right? Like another 10x of Bitcoin from here, seems like a lot, but like in Bitcoin's history, 10x is kind of a pretty standard thing. And so we might actually only be a few years away, say it's 5 years away from another 10x or 20x on Bitcoin that gets it to parity with gold.
Yes, I've been saying that so many times. I personally very much believe in that we will be at parity with gold within the next 5 to 7 years. I personally think like 2030, around like 2029, 2030, 2031, 2032, somewhere around there, like not a prediction, just a very likelihood situation that I think probably will be happening, that we will be at parity with gold. Bitcoin, the same market cap than gold has. And this is a very historic moment. I'm going so far out on the limb and saying, if this happens, if Bitcoin becomes the most valuable asset on planet Earth, if Bitcoin is way more valuable at that point than gold is, not way more, but like even like $1 more valuable than gold is, we will be celebrating. There will be gold flippening parties. I'm telling you, this will be a huge moment in time for the Bitcoin community, because there are a lot of people that are still do this day not taking Bitcoin seriously. We have a $2.2 trillion market cap, and there are people still like saying like, yeah, it could still be a bubble. It could still be something. No, it can't. No, it isn't. But if Bitcoin is the single most valuable asset on Earth and got bigger than gold, this point in history is undeniable proof that Bitcoin was and probably always will be the best store of value. And this is kind of my personal belief, saying Bitcoin is such a huge asset already. It's just waiting to also for other people to realize that. And that's why I just absolutely love what Matthew Pines is saying here. Yeah. Also, thank you so much, Raphael. We are witnessing the birth of financial freedom in real time. I saw that and I was like, yes, Yes, 100%, Raphael. It's doing that. So absolutely. And also, I like that one. Don't forget to move your BTC to cold storage. Otherwise, they won't be really your BTC. So now back to the video to Matthew Pines.
In which case, China's 10, 15-year project of hoarding gold would be sort of rendered a bit moot, right? Because now we've acquired, the dominant percentage of this emerging gold reserve asset. And so it has to kind of monetize through a volatile path along that way. But I think there's an end state here where you could have kind of two competing blocks that are.
This is so interesting. If you think about the moment of China now hoarding gold and the US hoarding gold, plus also going towards more and more Bitcoin standard. This means that the USA, and hopefully they are like buying Bitcoin, and hopefully they are actually accumulating, not for like Bitcoin, but for like the USA sakes, that they are actually seeing that. And this is the theory behind nation states buying Bitcoin. We had a topic on Friday. We saw Luxembourg going in with like 1% of the sovereign wealth fund. Is like 1% is not a lot. Like 100%, like 1% of the sovereign wealth fund is like, what was the buy? 9 million, 10 million, 7 million, something like that. That's not a lot. We see hundreds of millions, if not billions, flowing into Bitcoin like every single week from other institutions and companies and all of that. So 9 million is not a big thing, but nations buying Bitcoin, they're starting now slowly to get it behind the scenes. Like it's not on the news covers. It will be on the news covers when it's too late to accumulate Bitcoin. At that point, then it's really too late. If the news covers like, the USA is buying a lot of Bitcoin, USA is accumulated a lot of Bitcoin, that is like, then we're already at like astronomical levels price-wise. So let's see back what he has to say.
Are essentially separate spheres. They have their own sort of geopolitical domain. They have their own commodity trade-based domain. They have their own tech stack, right? China has their own AI tech stack that they're trying to export around the world. We're trying to export our vision of a certain tech stack. And so the failure mode would be they're just become two authoritarian competing systems. I think ultimately, if that's the case, then ours is going to fail because we cannot out authoritarian the Chinese. We cannot out totalitarianize the CCP. Right. The only way we're going to win is if we embrace kind of the essential sort of ethos and competitive dynamic that has.
The free world has to win in a way that the free world is winning. So if the free world doesn't get to be the free world anymore, it will be way worse than China, because China knows their game a lot better than the free world knows the China game. That a brilliant insight. Honestly, I never thought about that before I heard Matthew Pines talking about that.
Has allowed us to dominate these sort of frontier technologies in the first place. And so that's the risk I see, is if I think it ultimately will be self-inflicted. If we kind of lose the mantle of leadership, if we don't align ourselves to these emerging trends and allow them to kind of reinforce our existing values, then we're going to be in trouble. But I think we have kind of this moment in time right now to make those right choices.
100%. It is crazy for me to think about that there is 5 to 10x from here. And then we are actually above gold. And then the whole world is kind of realizing, that is not just like a small bubbly thing, like not a niche thing that Elon likes to play with, that Trump likes to play with, like that all those people like to play with, because those are the people that in the traditional financial space might be looking upwards and like saying, okay, now it's a huge game. Now it's actually like a whole new thing to do that. So yeah, I guess we're at that point in history. But now to the video. Initially, I wanted to start with that video, but I just wanted to show you guys before we get into this video, all the the daily stuff and all the news that kind of come in and the price action. But now to this video, and I know I'm not agreeing with all the actors that are in there. It's like Eric Trump and all the people. I know they're doing a lot of shit coining also, but I do think it is important for the community to have as many different warriors for Bitcoin. And so having warriors for Bitcoin on the political level, having warriors for Bitcoin on the social level, having warriors on Bitcoin for the company level, on the grassroots level, on the payment side of things, like on the all different departments and all different kind of sectors, is extremely important. And seeing this message being spread by politicians is, for me, super interesting to witness. But yeah, let's see what Eric Trump has to say. Maybe we jump over here. Let's see if it works out.
Everybody wants Bitcoin. Everybody is buying Bitcoin. If you go back 12 months, there were probably less than 100 companies that were treasuring Bitcoin that really had any. And now every single day, it's another sovereign wealth fund. Look what GameStop just did. Look what Truth Social did. Every single day, people are allocating billions.
By the way, that's not a new video. Obviously, it is from the 2025 Bitcoin Las Vegas conference in, what was it? Las Vegas, yeah, like Las Vegas always said that. For some reason, I wanted to say Miami, but it wasn't in Miami. It was always in Miami, and then it never came back to Miami, I guess. And this was from there. It is a little bit older, I think a few months old, but I haven't heard that talk, even though I was there, and I found it interesting, the kind of the mix-up.
And billions of dollars to it. 0.1 Bitcoin is going to be worth an absolute fortune. And
let's talk to the average American right now. I talk to millions of people every day on my channel, and what I hear a lot is, well, Bitcoin's already over.
I mean, it is kind of funny to hear Trump talking about, 0.1 Bitcoin, because he has fortunes. But I do agree with the message here.
Over 100K. I can't buy one whole Bitcoin anymore. I could buy maybe 0.1 Bitcoin or a fraction of a Bitcoin, but I don't know, it doesn't seem worth it. What would you tell to somebody that is saying, should I buy 0.1 Bitcoin? Is a fraction of 1 Bitcoin worth it?
I think without question. Listen, I think for everyone, the second you get in it, right? Even as a student of finance and whatever it may be, once you're vested, all of a sudden you're paying attention. You're in the details. You don't have to buy 100,000, at Bitcoin. Like, you buy as much as you can, whatever percent you can, and once you have that vesting, you're all of a sudden committed. You're paying attention to the details, you're understanding the game a lot more, you figure it out. I mean, people have said, hey, Bitcoin's too expensive. They said it at 1,000, they said it at 10,000, they said it at 50,000. This is a story that's pretty old right now. This has been going.
I love that story actually, because there's all those memes, and the memes are kind of always the same, or not the same, but like they are very similar, and sometimes the memes are completely the same, and literally all they do is just like get the new numbers of the bull market in. Those memes where like there's one queue with like two people sitting at $100,000, and then there's like 100 people at like $150,000, the long queue. And those memes I've seen since I've been in Bitcoin. I've been in Bitcoin since $5,000. So I've seen those memes with 5,000 and 50,000. I've seen those memes with 15,000 and 100,000. Now you see those memes with 100,000 and $1 million. And it is absolutely crazy how people just don't get that bad money is flowing into good money, so you should have as much of the good money and not as much of the bad money. It's super simple, like get more of the good one, dump this bad one, get out of the denominated things that are denominated in the bad money. So stocks and bonds and all those things, like you can still buy them. Like it's totally fine, especially if there's some Bitcoin play in there. Like I don't do it, but I don't recommend it also. But if you want to do that, if you want to gamble, like go ahead and do that. I just stick with sound money in cold storage. This is my game. This is where I know the things, where I feel comfortable, and this is what I'm doing. And at some point, I probably will kind of go in speculation mode again and do some stocks, because I love that. I love just like researching. But this will be extremely with a small percentage of the portfolio of like, hey, there's 5%, 10% maybe, and just like gamble a little bit in the stocks. And the memes are just repeating. People said, oh, it's too expensive at $1. Like there's those very early memes, this very early like Bitcoin talk forum, Bitcoin Reddit post where people saying, oh, I've bought Bitcoin at $1.15. I sold it all at $2 because I have missed the train. It's too expensive now. Imagining selling Bitcoin at $2 and now seeing it just a decade later at over $100,000. You're going to bite your ass if you are now selling Bitcoin at $100,000 and seeing it in 10 years at $10 million. Like you will absolutely bite your own ass off. So this really hit home, because I have those memes always in me. Let's see what the comment, just quickly, let's see what the comments saying here. Still be the fastest growing asset. Yes, and that's why it's very hard for me to argue for investing into anything other than Bitcoin currently. Like, of course, I could also go ahead and say like, oh, I buy some stocks in the AI play. Or I buy some stocks in the AI play. I buy some stocks here, or I want to do some real estate thing or like whatever. But I just know Bitcoin is the easiest thing to hold. It is the least riskiest thing. Again, this is the least riskiest thing I can buy currently. If you say volatility is risk, then I'm not in that camp. Like I'm not in that camp that says volatility is risk. So for me, risk is how likely is it to crash? How likely is it to crash to zero? How likely is it for this thing to completely bust? And for this to completely bust, there has to be a lot happening, and we have to go out the probability curve very far out of that. Whereas finding reasons why a stock might go bust is very easy. You actually can look that up with every single stock. They have to report something to the SEC, especially in America. There's like 10 Ks and 10 Qs, and there's always sections. I don't know exactly what the sections are called. It's been a long time since I looked at one, but it's like the risks associated with those businesses. And those businesses are kind of have very, like all stocks have some risks that are always the same for every stock, like management failure, like the market, like all of those things. But then they also have individual risks that are just for that business. And those pages are very long. Like read through them and you will be scared, scared for your life if you read all the risks that are associated with that. So this is kind of what I was thinking. You kind of really have to look into what is risk meaning to you. And Bitcoin is, for me, so far down the probability curve of having any risk at all that I'm saying, okay, and it is the fastest growing asset ever, like also for me in the next 5 to 10 years. Like, why would I hold anything else? Like, it's very hard for me. And I love picking stocks. Like, this is what I did before Bitcoin. This is how I came to Bitcoin. But now I'm just all in Bitcoin. It might change. Like, I might just allocate 5 to 10% of my portfolio back to some stocks. But currently, I'm like, why? Why in God's earth would I do that? Sorry, that's what I meant. Long post accidentally hit send before it was finished. Yeah, it can be happening. Yeah, like let's look back at what Eric and Donald Trump Jr. has to say.
Going on for over a decade where it's too much. So, I think it's just important to get people in the game, to start understanding that, to utilize the other platforms, to be able to figure out DeFi. I think the more you do that, the
DeFi. Come on. What is DeFi? Bitcoin is DeFi. There's only one DeFi player in the space, and this is Bitcoin. Because what does it mean? What is DeFi meaning? What is DeFi? DeFi is decentralized finance. So what is decentralized? Okay, what is decentralized in this world? What is a decentralized asset? Bitcoin is a decentralized asset. What other decentralized assets are there? None. There are, decentralization could be a spectrum. And you could say, if I run a computer, a ledger on a computer, and I copy that computer on my, I have it here even, on such a thing, like on a hard drive, then this ledger has 2 points where the ledger is distributed. Is that decentralized? I guess so. It's decentralized. But this is all what altcoins are doing. Like, they're not really decentralized. Like, how many nodes are there? How many nodes are there from those altcoins? And that's why I'm saying there is only one truly decentralized asset, only one truly decentralized network that is out there in the world and that can actually claim to be decentralized. And that's Bitcoin. None other. All other ones might be decentralized, but they haven't proven themselves to be decentralized. They haven't proven to be there. They just claim it. And Bitcoin doesn't even claim it because Bitcoin has no marketing team. Bitcoin has no CEO. The other ones have a CEO. They have someone on the head, and they're claiming it. They're paying influencers. They're paying those campaigns, and they're just claiming things. And so this is where I'm like, DeFi. Like, there's only one DeFi, and that's Bitcoin. So hey, Nav, I think I've seen you. I think on the with Roger Sony. Thank you so much for also showing up here. Like, really means a lot. I think we talked about the Satoshis getting to work for yourself, basically. That was a fun live stream with Roger. I should bring Roger on the live streams one day. But yeah, let's going back to what Donald Trump Jr. and Eric Trump are saying about DeFi.
The more people are vested, the further away you get away from the traditional finance systems, and I think the whole community grows accordingly.
Guys, there's one other aspect about this. I mean, all of us travel all over the world. Don and I travel hundreds of thousands of miles a year. I'm telling you right now, everybody in the world wants Bitcoin. I don't care where you are. I don't care if you're, royal families. I don't care if you're the biggest, financial institutions. Everybody wants Bitcoin. Everybody is buying Bitcoin. If you go back 12 months, there were probably less than 100 companies that were treasuring Bitcoin that really had any. And now every single day, it's another sovereign wealth fund. Look what GameStop just did. Look what Truth Social did. Every single day, people are allocating billions and billions of dollars to it. 0.1 Bitcoin is going to be worth an absolute fortune. And, look at the OTCs. The OTCs have the least amount of Bitcoin ever on their books, right? I mean, the arrow's going straight down as the price of Bitcoin is going straight up. I've got a dear friend. He spoke on the stage before, Simon from Metaplan, and I asked him, what's the hardest problem? And he goes, honestly, we're running out of Bitcoin. It's hard to find on the exchanges. I mean, guys, everybody wants it. No one wants to get rid of it. Everybody wants it as a balance sheet item. Every family, and this isn't America. This is the entire Middle East. This is Africa. This is all of Asia. This is Fortune 5.
Everyone wants Bitcoin. Sats Chats, you raised a question here. I'm super sorry. Apparently, if you ask a question on Twitter, maybe there's some feature. I cannot see it on my comments, so I cannot pull it up right now, but I see it in my small little bubble here. So I will just read it out loud. So here, what you're saying, like DeFi, I have to read it. Robin, have you looked into Bitcoin DeFi on Lightning and Stacks? I'm very of banks handling Bitcoin. Yes, so we need to talk about basically all the layer 2 stuff. We have so many layer 2s on Bitcoin. We have like as Lightning Stacks, we have the Liquid Network, we have so many different things that are actually going on top of Bitcoin. And this needs to be really handled long term. But currently, honestly, I just do Bitcoin on chain. Bitcoin on chain, when I transact basically with my freelancers, when freelancers are transacting with me, or I do anything basically on Bitcoin, I do it on chain because the fees are super low. If we bring up that chart again, let me see that. Can we see that here? Yes, we see you need the fee rate. Fee rate is currently 2. That's super low. So if you really want to transact on Bitcoin and you do want to do all the DeFi stuff, you can do it on the main chain. You have no way of actually having to use Lightning. You just use Bitcoin on chain, and that's all you need to do. This is also, if we go back here, this is also something extremely important. As Bitcoin grows, the fees for Bitcoin to transact on will grow. So currently, if I transact $1,000, I pay about $1 for the transaction fees to actually go through. But if Bitcoin goes up and up and up, and more people use it, the blockchain will be more jammed. And with that, long term, the fees will go up. So we go maybe from $1 to $10, and then maybe from $10 to $100, and then maybe from $100 to $1,000, and then maybe even beyond that. On-chain transaction is almost like riding in a Rolls Royce. This will be very expensive. This will only be worth, or maybe a better comparison is riding on the on-chain transaction in 10 years, in 20 years, in 30 years will be almost like riding in a presidential car that is followed by a motorway. How is it called? Motorgate. By a lot of cars in front and behind. There are those big cars. I don't know how they're called, but basically a lot of cars, a lot of things there, and this will be like riding on chain, very secure. Your Bitcoin are there, and you know it will come there, and it's very secure. But it's only for big transactions. Then we have Lightning on top of that to actually scale that, and this will be very hard for a lot of people to like do that, but Lightning will make do that. Fediments and all of that will long term actually make care of that. Then yeah, let's go on. Christine Lagarde wants Bitcoin. That's so funny. Luis Garcia, your mouth. Oh gosh, yeah, I'm super sorry for that. I've noticed that actually on my last live stream, I have here my drinking thing. I'm not used to speaking a whole hour or almost 2 hours on my own without actually having like the time to process it. And so my mouth is not yet trained to that. I try to keep that. I'm trying to do my best to actually go ahead and like rule that out in the future for you guys. But I'm doing my best. But yeah, thank you so much, Luis. But I love that you're going live now. It is very different going live. I'm telling you, I struggle a lot with like my mouth still, because like there's like I'm still talking and don't really have a pause. And now that I've done live streaming literally first week, I have an appreciation, a lot bigger appreciation for everyone that goes live so many times. There are a lot of people that do that, and I'm like, wow, like going live on your own and just talking. My mouth was not used to that, and I was speaking a lot. On stage, for some reasons, a little bit different, but even on stage, I haven't done it so many times. And also, like usually, it's just like 20 minutes, 30 minutes. So those, how do you call it, saliva noises? Yeah, I'm super sorry. It's a live stream beginner. I will do my best to kind of repair them. So, how we are saying in Austria, Prost. Let's see. Now, I want to show you something. I want to show you all something that I've kind of prepared for you guys. This is the one chart I've probably showed you all in every single live stream so far. This is the total assets worth of Bitcoin in 2025. This has been sized by Jesse Myers, aka Grossos _ BTC. And Bitcoin here is only 2 trillion. All other assets are a lot bigger: gold, arts, equities, real estate, bonds, and money. So when we look at that, what we have here is a small asset. And then there's the question of like, okay, when we want to see how big 0.1 Bitcoin actually can get, we have to kind of figure out how much of that total asset pool can Bitcoin actually get to. And there is a lot of speculations out there. Can it go to 10%, 20%, maybe even 50%? 50%, a lot of people say, oh, Bitcoin is money, so it is 50% of everything. But also real estate, bonds, money. Like bonds and money is an obvious one. It's just like, this will be Bitcoin in my opinion. So for me, 40% is almost clear that this is Bitcoin. And now I was like, okay, what is my most conservative example for that? Because I don't want to spook people. I don't want to like make huge claims. I don't want to make huge numbers here and kind of the moon math of it. I want to make sure I address this in the most sensible and conservative way possible. And when we look here in how much money here is in equities, in money, in bonds. Bonds are completely losing this year also. Real estate and gold. If we just take 20%, from all of that, just 20%, it would be, in my opinion, almost Bitcoin failing. If we only get to 20% of all assets globally, this is kind of my most bearish, my most base case for Bitcoin. But what does this actually mean? We have 1,000 trillion US dollars. If we take, I wanted to make the numbers a little bit cleaner, so 21%, this would mean Bitcoin's market cap would be at 210 trillion US dollars. This would also mean that 0.1 Bitcoin would be at $1 million. So if you have Bitcoin at over $1 million, 0.1 Bitcoin over $1 million, so 1 Bitcoin at $10 million. By the way, Saylor is predicting 13 million already in 2045. So a lot of people are way more bullish than that. Also, one interesting argument here, we have here the whole total global assets. And the whole total global assets means if you take out 20% here, they will grow with it. So if I say $1 million, this means in today dollars terms. So there is no inflation in there. And if inflation keeps rising with like 5%, 10%, 20% a year, we are actually going towards a world where we have Bitcoin at $1 million, that is worth today. And then long term, this will be $5 million. So this $1 million will be probably more like $5 million, just for people to understand that. And then when we go ahead and see, okay, what is the average American household spending currently? Apparently, it's 77K per year. So it is about 6K per month in 2023. Let's rule it up a little bit because it's 2025. Let's say it's 80K per year. That is about 13 years without any work. So you could actually, with 0.1 Bitcoin, like not more than that, if we reach that 20%, again, I've made it very clear from the starting, people underestimate the impact of Bitcoin, but overestimate the speed of adoption. So the speed of the adoption might be a little bit slower on there, but the impact this will have is massively. So from $1 million, you could make sure that a family, an average family, can live for 13 years. 0.1 Bitcoin is absolutely generational wealth in that sense then. So now, this has been amazing, and I want to make sure then with all of that, what actually people are saying about the future of Bitcoin and what people are saying about the future also of fiat currencies. And who better to bring up here at this very point than Lynn Alden, because I think she puts it so nicely, and it really ties back into all the things we have saying beforehand already.
Dollar is not means that if anything, gold is actually on the verge of flipping treasuries as the #1 reserve asset. And so I think what replaces the dollar is not something that looks like the dollar, not like, China currency, enters an 80-year period of being the global reserve currency to the same degree. It's not like that. It's two things. It's one, neutral reserve assets becoming more relevant. So gold's the big incumbent. Obviously, we're both bullish on Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a really powerful one because it's not only a reserve asset, it's also a settlement network. So some of the smaller ones are dabbling in that, El Salvador, Kingdom of Bhutan, some others. And then two, more bilateral trade agreements. So not necessarily this is like some BRICS currency per se, but that, China buys agricultural products from Brazil in Chinese currency, or China buys Russian energy in Chinese currency. So China is kind of a big hub, but not to the same degree. It's more like with their own trading partners. And then to some extent, India and Russia have their agreements, and India and Brazil have their agreements, and kind of a collection of not necessarily friends, but mutually aligned partners have more of their own kind of non-dollar trading situation. And so I think and I've been writing about this literally since 2020, is that we enter a more multipolar world. So not a single fiat currency replacing us, but more gold, more Bitcoin, more bilateral non-dollar systems. And the dollar still might be the biggest for a long time, but instead of being like the only game in town, it's like one of the big games in town. Maybe still the single biggest, but it's a plurality rather than dominant.
And I think what she is describing here is not something that like is the end game. This is also what she's kind of saying. This is what we are entering now, where the US dollar is kind of losing the position, and there's new neutral assets like gold, not a new one, but Bitcoin, a new one, and neutral assets that kind of arise from it. And maybe also agreements between China and India and Brazil and other people kind of coming together. And so we have a world where more and more people and more countries are working together, and not as like there's this one dominant thing. And for me, what this actually just means is we are seeing the fall of fiat. If there's not one fiat currency that is dominating over that, there will be more of a competition between fiat currencies. And in that, and we have just shown that chart, I maybe I find it quickly afterwards, where all the cash in the world, from US dollars and yen and euros, all the cash, the notes and the coins together. And now, if Bitcoin goes up again to the new all-time high and goes on to like a small tantrum in October, we have the chance of being higher than at any other point in history, and basically having more cash in Bitcoin because it's digital cash, and then actually like US dollar cash notes and coins has. And so we're already entering where Bitcoin as a payment network, as money, is competing with all the other ones. And this is a huge deal where we have money that is already competing with the big dogs, with the US dollar, with the euro, with the yen, and all of the other ones. And it's kind of the multipolar world that Lynn Alden talked about. And I think this is just amazing that we have Bitcoin in there. And this will be freaking awesome to see kind of Bitcoin competing with them. And then long term, we know where we end up. Like fiat currencies will just get smaller and smaller and smaller and more fractionate. And then Bitcoin is just like getting more and more of a position that will be looking like the reserve asset of the world, and eventually will be the world reserve asset where everything is denominated in it. But again, I just show it one more time, just so people don't misunderstand me. We underestimate the impact of Bitcoin, but we might overestimate the speed of the adoption of us coming there in the world. Also, what I wanted to show you guys, we are, and I think this is just like really proving or kind of like showing one more slide towards that, what Lynn Alden always says. We have a lot of debt problems in the world. And Bitcoin News wrote here, new global debt surged $14 trillion in Q2 2025 to a record $337 trillion. Total debt is up 21 trillion. What an amazing number. 21 trillion in just 6 months. Global debt to GDP now sits at 324%. So we have a huge problem with global debt to GDP. I will show you this. I've researched that very deeply with ChatGPT because there's not a chart out there. So I had to make it myself. So I had to go in there with ChatGPT, with Grok, with all of the other ones, and I've seen kind of, okay, what are the global debt to GDP ratios over the years, and crossed all of them out and kind of made that chart. So that is not an official chart, just to be very clear. This chart is not an official chart. This is just something that I kind of spooked together in research with my robots and said like, okay, what are the numbers looking like? And the global GDP, the debt to GDP ratio has been just rising and rising since forever. We had here Great Depression begins, and then we had Bretton Woods, which is funny. Then it really spiked down, and since then it's just going up and up and up. And here, I think this is something that most Bitcoiners know about: the Nixon shock. The Nixon shock in 1971, and it's just going up and up and up and up. Even in 2008, it's going up. COVID made some big drama in there, but it's basically up and up and up. And now we had the news, as Bitcoin News also shared, we're just going up. And this kind of just confirms what Lynn Alden has been saying for like forever at this point, and also in the video. The train has left the station and nothing stops this train. And we are ending up at a world where we no longer have this fiat currency domination. There's one fiat currency that dominates everything, and we're kind of moving in a world where there is some fiat currency there are some other fiat currencies there's some gold here, there's some Bitcoin there, and everything is kind of more, and there are trade agreements maybe with China and India and Brazil, with the BRICS and whatever. And this is also kind of a multipolar world. And in this world where there's as much competition around those different players as possible, Bitcoin really thrives, because Bitcoin is born to be in this world where there's a lot of competition. And at some point, Bitcoin will just take over, because people are like, oh, okay, I don't trust the USA, I don't trust China, I don't trust Russia. So I guess I don't trust anyone. So what can I do? You can trust a trustless system, a system that you don't have to trust, a system that just works. And this is, in my opinion, Bitcoin. And this is kind of the overall thesis of like, hey, they will just keep printing, so you should keep buying Bitcoin. That's what I'm kind of getting towards. But yeah, let's look back at the comments. Let me drink something when I look back in the comments to get my mouth going again. Let's see who is here. Daniel. Oh gosh, guys, if you don't follow Daniel, this is a great guy. Follow him. He has some really interesting theories. I think I have made with him now 3 podcasts at this point. Really interesting guy who has 0.1 Bitcoin. I don't know. Me not. I don't have Bitcoin, so I don't have the 0.1. Hi, Pavel. How are you doing? And here, Robin, when we go to 200K, I guess 200K per Bitcoin. I don't know. Probably next year, maybe this year, maybe in 3 years. This is again, I want to stress this point. We have made this so many times, and I want to show this to you guys, because this has been a huge learning of mine. We always want to have things as fast as possible, and this is kind of bringing us to a state where we are overestimating the speed of adoption. The speed of adoption grows at whatever the speed of adoption grows, and we cannot really influence it. The best way we can influence is like make YouTube videos. That's what I'm trying to do. We can make the adoption as smooth as possible for as many people as possible. And this is what I've really learned from many, many podcasts. People underestimate the overall impact of Bitcoin that Bitcoin will have on this world, but they completely overestimate the speed of adoption. And there are people saying like, oh yeah, like it will go up hundreds and thousands and tens of thousands of percent like next week. I don't think so. And I also don't think we want that. Imagine back of like what the Titanic looked like when it really was sinking. It took, first of all, a long time that it actually sink. And this is kind of a good thing, because it gave a lot of people the possibility to jump in the rescue boats and actually be rescued. And if they weren't here, they wouldn't. So if we are having a Titanic that sinks, and this is kind of the fiat way of seeing it, if fiat sinks and we want it to sink as fast as possible, we want it to completely go under and there's only Bitcoin again. I think if we have this situation right now, this is not good for the ones that don't hold Bitcoin, kind of obvious, but it's also not good for the people that actually hold Bitcoin. Remember back, like look back and say like, okay, how many people actually in your life, friends, families, people that are close to you that aren't into Bitcoin, like not like that aren't in your circle already, in the Bitcoin circle, people that are just in your friends and family circle, how many of those are actually in Bitcoin? How many of those have kind of seen what Bitcoin means and what Bitcoin kind of brings? Do you really want a world where the fiat currencies all go to zero and the whole world relies now on Bitcoin? That the Titanic sinking tomorrow or next week is not a good outcome for Bitcoin. It might be a good outcome long term, but it's not a good outcome right now. And it's definitely not a good outcome for you and your family, because you have to rescue them. And so I think having Bitcoin, our duty is to get other people also in the the life-saving raft and kind of get them to understand what it means for Bitcoin and what this world could look like if fiat goes the way a lot of us think it goes. But it's not a good thing if Bitcoin goes to $10 million in 2025. And that's not a good thing. It sounds weird coming from someone that has all the money into Bitcoin, but it is not a good thing, because this, you also have to ask the question, what does this mean for the rest of the world? If Bitcoin goes now to $10 million, this means that Bitcoin overtook about 20 to 25% of all the money in the world, like almost overnight. This also means that the financial crisis hit harder than ever before. Like 2008 was nothing against that. There's a second great depression. There's mass unemployment. People are crying on the streets. People are like this situation we don't want. And I wouldn't never cheer for that. So I rather have Bitcoin at 150, 140, even 80K at the end of the year than have it at $10 million. It sounds weird, but we also have to think about the consequences, what it means Bitcoin going up that crazy. But one thing that really happens in all bear markets, and Simply Bitcoin kind of wrote about that, the Bitcoin dominance in market cap has gone up huge. But then also I saw the first comment of like, oh yeah, zoom out. And actually did. And yes, it is going up, but there was a huge uptick here on 10th of October. So I think what is actually happening with the Bitcoin dominance is, if we're going down on Bitcoin, Bitcoin is going down a little bit, like 9%. And then there's all those altcoins, all those coins, this alternative coins to Bitcoin that don't really have an value. They are completely getting liquidated within like minutes. And there's like 60%, 80%, sometimes even like 95% drawbacks. And then like the Bitcoin dominance spikes. But overall, if you think about 1 year, we have going up and down in the Bitcoin dominance, and it doesn't really matter. We have gone up like 5 years with some like going down, and now we're slowly fighting up again. It doesn't really matter, because Bitcoin's opponents are not other altcoins or cryptos or anything like that. The Bitcoin opponents are these guys here: gold, real estate, bonds, money, equities, like the big bubbles of money. This is what Bitcoin is kind of coming for. Bitcoin is coming for being the biggest, most powerful and strongest store of value on earth, and then becoming money to be the biggest and strongest and best medium of exchange, and then naturally also becoming the denominator of the world, kind of becoming the unit of account. This is what Bitcoin is going for, and not kind of there's this like altcoins and like it's competing with Bitcoin. No, it isn't. I said that before, so I will not go again on the same tangent. There's only one decentralized Bitcoin, and there's only one decentralized network or asset on this world, and it's Bitcoin, and nothing else. So we have an interesting question, I think, here from Ivemr, I don't know. Do you think there will be a cycle extension? Maybe. It's very likely. I loved George Boudin's answer to that, and I will kind of like paraphrase it and add a little bit of towards it, because I think what he's been mentioning is that how Bitcoin has changed. Bitcoin has changed from being a jet ski or like small speedboat where it goes up and down very quickly. It really drives fast. It goes up 50%, it goes down 70%. And now we're kind of like an aircraft carrier. An aircraft carrier where we are so strong and powerful, where if someone throws in like $1 billion in Bitcoin, it does not really matter. Like it is not enough money to move it. And so going up and down is a lot harder. And so when we think about price action is just supply and demand at the end of the day. How much supply we have is very clear on the Bitcoin side. We have those 19 point something million, so like 21 million capped. Then it's like, okay, what is the liquid supply of that? Maybe 2 million, maybe 3 million on exchanges. I don't know exactly the number right now, but there's not a lot. And then so it's like, okay, if we're going to like 500K, how many people are selling then? Probably a lot. if people bought at $5,000 like in 2020 and they are now seeing like a $500,000 price, they probably will buy themselves a house, maybe buy some fancy car, whatever. So like there will be people always buying. It's also the complete opposite of attention, maybe of like a supply squeeze. I don't think this will be happening, and I can tell you why later. But coming back to this question, we have players now in that are very different. The demand side of Bitcoin is now different. The supply side is similar than it was 10 years ago or 5 years ago or like a year ago, and it will be similar than like 100 years in the future, because like the Bitcoin supply is very predictable. And so then it's the demand side of it. Who actually buys Bitcoin? Who actually goes ahead and says like, oh, I'll buy Bitcoin? 2011, there were a lot of different buyers in the market than it is right now. Right now, we have institutional buyers. We have companies. We have sovereign wealth funds buying Bitcoin. Those guys don't FOMO in and out. Those guys, they see it, they buy it, and then just go ahead and say like, okay, we have a strategy. We want to allocate, let's say, $50 million every week towards Bitcoin. And we are doing this the next 5 years. They don't care if Bitcoin goes up and down. They don't care if Bitcoin goes down 10% and they're like, oh, now we have to sell some. Or if Bitcoin goes up 100%, they're like, shit, like now we have to take some profits. Or like now we are FOMOing completely and now we're buying $100 million. If it takes 50 signatures to buy Bitcoin, it also takes 50 signatures to sell Bitcoin. So what this means is that companies that buy Bitcoin and have those long-term plans now with buying Bitcoin and having a strategic Bitcoin reserve, and also the sovereign wealth fund and all those players, if they have those plans, and it took a long time till they actually got to have those plans, it is a lot harder now to go back. So it's very important to know that how many signatures it takes to buy it. Also, this is how many signatures it gets. And so coming back to the question of, do you think there will be a cycle extension? With that, it might be, because the buying doesn't really stop now. And I don't think those companies really care for cycles and they just keep buying. So it might just well be that they keep buying, and so the bull run doesn't really slow down. But at the same time, at every cycle we have been saying that. So we could be wrong here too, and I don't know. So 2025, 2026, what will it bring? End of 2025 could bring a lot. Let's see. End of 2026, I personally think it will still be an up year, but this is just pure speculation. I know where Bitcoin is going in 10 years. I have no clue where it's going in 1 year. I just make assumptions based on like the best knowledge I've get from all the expertise in the Bitcoin ecosystem, and then kind of draw my own conclusions towards that. Is this a sponsored channel? I mean, of course, yeah, I've partners and sponsors. This live stream is kind of unsponsored. I don't have ads in there or anything like that. So like this specific live stream channel, if you don't mean this, not, but the YouTube channel overall is sponsored from amazing people like the Microseed, the Bitcoin Way, Simple Mining. You can check them out. I talk a lot about them in my podcast anyways. Andy, hi Robin, love your show. Thank you so much. By the way, I have no clue what that counter here in the corner up says that you guys don't even see, but it says that we are soon hitting 1,000 viewers on this live stream, which is absolutely fantastic. And I think it counts all platforms together. So Twitter, Rumble, and YouTube. I think YouTube is my main one. I have no clue how many we have there currently, but this is just amazing. So thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. I have, I think, one more treat for you guys, one more treat, and then we're kind of closing out, and this is a good one. I love to see him also, and this is Vivek Ramaswamy. I have no clue how to pronounce this guy, but he's a great guy, Vivek. My view on the promise of Bitcoin is an opt-out from the broken financial architecture created by the US Federal Reserve System. I love that sentence. It is his view that Bitcoin is an opt-out from the broken financial system. Yes, exactly. This is what Bitcoin is. Let's see. Let's hear what he's. Oh, sorry, guys. I didn't share the right tab. Here we have the right tab. I'll read it again. Vivek Ramaswamy says, my view on the promise of Bitcoin is an opt-out from the broken financial architecture created by the US Federal Reserve. Let's see and hear what he has to say.
Created by the U.S. Federal Reserve System. And I say this as somebody who wants to fight for, if I'm the U.S. president, I want to fight for the dollar to remain the reserve currency of the world. But, there's a funny thing that happens. There's two ways of doing that. One is if you're really insecure about your own value proposition, you try to smash out the competition. Well, the fact that the government officials are coming for alternative forms of currency the way they are, Bitcoin included, reflects an insecurity in their own value proposition. I look at it the other way. I think the existence of Bitcoin holds the dollar's feet to the fire to make sure that it can't be manipulated in a way that people don't just opt out and go the other direction. Because if they do have that opt out, that's what actually keeps us on our own toes. And so I love the idea, the alluring vision, and is why I was first drawn to it, certainly, of a total opt out. Code is law, a Wild West jungle that completely opts out of the Byzantine government captured, government orchestrated corruption in the existing system. And I think that remains the promise as long as the proponents of it are willing to stick to that vision, as I do. And so, we can get into a deeper conversation there, but the original promise was an opt-out, a backstop, an actual competitive outlet to say that if the existing architecture itself, the rails are broken, we're going to build new rails with a fixed supply. So nobody can print more artificial snow like the current Federal Reserve does. No skiing artificial snow.
And I have to say that because it's super, super important. I've seen it so many times where people say, oh yeah, like Bitcoin is an opt-out, like Bitcoin is great, like it's a hedge. And then I see them having Bitcoin on exchange and buying ETFs. If you want to opt out of the system, you have to get it in self-custody. I always tell about those 3 pillars of Bitcoin. The first one is the wealth pillar, where we have Bitcoin going up and it's great. It's an inflation hedge and all of that. But if you really want to make sure that you're opting out of the system, don't use their tools. And exchanges and ETFs in specific are the tools of the fiat currency. And so if you really want to opt out, you have to take your own keys and you have to take your own node. And this is the only way of actually opting out. And I would love, maybe Vivek Ramaswamy says it later on, but I would love for Vivek also to say, hey guys, this is an opt-out, but only if you do self-custody and run your own node and do all the things that actually give you the freedom to actually use Bitcoin. Otherwise, again, you just have an IOU, a claim on Bitcoin that doesn't really mean anything. It's just like, here in the future, you might get Bitcoin, but maybe also not. Maybe you never get it. Maybe you get it. I don't know. Maybe. It's not sure. Maybe. And so only with self-custody, with running your own node, this is the only way you truly have an opt-out. Otherwise, you're still in the system and you're still vulnerable to everything for that.
On a fixed supply of the real thing. Great. I think it's a beautiful system. And the fact that there's an anaphylactic response from the existing incumbents shows you that they're insecure. In this case, that incumbent is the Federal Reserve, is insecure in its own value proposition. And so I, for one,
this is always what I think when I hear, especially Christine Lagarde in the ECB talking. This is what I think. She's so deeply insecure about what the euro is and what Bitcoin is, that it's just absolutely phenomenal that she's still in that position. So having the incumbent system kind of saying like, oh, Bitcoin is bad, Bitcoin is a speculation, is only used by criminals, and it uses so much electricity. This is just an consequence of them being insecure about their own system, and they should be insecure. Those systems they have built are very unstable and are very likely to at some point crash down and break down. So they are insecure, and they have all the rights to be insecure in that sense.
The leader of the executive branch, if I'm elected president, embrace that competition because it actually holds our own feet to the fire.
Well, the basis of capitalism is savings, having capital to then be able to invest. So a lot of people in the community who are Bitcoiners, they see it as the ultimate savings technology. So do you believe that the average American should start to accumulate Bitcoin? And if president, what would you do to help assimilate it into a global financial system that at times seems to...
Okay, here's like an open question that we don't have in the clip. This has been absolutely phenomenal. Thank you, guys. We have, again, just to time block this episode also, we have currently the block height of 918765. Thank you so much for tuning in. As a small reminder, we have currently exchange rate of Bitcoin of $114,000 US. You can get an absolutely astronomical high amount of Satoshis for just one US dollar, 875 Satoshis, which is astronomical high how many Satoshis you get. And then it's like we have one more question, and then we kind of end this thing up here from Cashton. Is a hot wallet sufficient, or is cold storage the only solution? This is an interesting question, actually. I think hot wallets are sometimes even a little bit underrated. For example, if you have Bitcoin if you hold Bitcoin your own keys, there are multiple setups. For example, you don't want to hold all your Bitcoin, especially if it's a significant high amount for you personally, in a hot wallet. There can be a lot of things happening with that. I don't know how exactly your setup with a hot wallet is, but if a hot wallet is just on your phone and this is all you got, and you lose your phone, then your Bitcoin are gone. It's that's not a good thing. So if you have a hot wallet, at least make a backup on titanium and have not only the phone, and back it up. But the more important point of what is the use case of a hot wallet that maybe just sits on the phone? For me, this is a spending wallet. So I spend Bitcoin, I receive Bitcoin, and I use, I think currently I use Blue Wallet, but I always switch what tool I use just to try different things out. And so use a wallet on your phone for spending. And even if you just have a little bit on there, I still back it up super easy, as said, guys, with the Microseed. And so even if you have a hot wallet, make sure it's not a substantial amount, make sure it's a spending wallet, and then have a cold storage setup where you have a significant amount, maybe with multi-signature, maybe with other things there it gets complicated of hey, okay, what is my personal setup, what is my situation looking like. That's why I always say, hey, if you're not sure, just contact the Bitcoin Way and tell them like, hey, like this is my setup, how should I do it? Because honestly, if you really think about self-custody, it's an IT security solution, and security solutions are always for a person. Like you should always have a security, like my security solution might not be fitting for you, and your security solution might not fit for your neighbor. So never like just copy a solution and a setup from someone else, because maybe you have vulnerabilities that I don't have, and vice versa. And so when we have a Bitcoin setup where you have a hot wallet, use it for spending and for receiving Bitcoin, but not for holding all your Bitcoin, unless you're just getting started with Bitcoin. So I think having a hot wallet and just having, like, if you just bought your first like $200 in Bitcoin and transferred those $200 into your hot wallet, and this is on your phone, and you've backed it up on Titanium, that's fine, I guess. Like if it's just like starting out and testing it out, because you also have to ask yourself, okay, what would the alternative cost? What if you have, or if all you have is $200 in Bitcoin or $500 in Bitcoin, like don't buy expensive tools. Like you don't buy expensive tools or services if you don't intend to have more money in Bitcoin. Like you shouldn't spend more money on tools and services than you have into Bitcoin. And so yeah, like this is kind of the, where is a hot wallet sufficient, where is it not? It really depends on how you use it. I use it purely as a spending and receiving wallet. There's not a lot in there. I kind of see it as a wallet. You know, like if you have a normal wallet and you have that wallet to spend, like I don't have a physical wallet right now here, but if you have a wallet and there's like a $10 note in there, maybe there's like $50 note in there, maybe you have like $200 in there, and you are okay to lose that, because if someone comes along and like points a gun on you, like you give it to them and they just run off with that, that's fine. Or you just leave it at a restaurant and someone takes it and you cannot find it anymore, that's fine. Like don't leave more money in a hot wallet. And that's, I think, the best rule. Don't leave more money in a hot wallet than you would leave in a purse or in a like an actual pocket wallet that you put in your pocket. I don't know if they have a special name. They probably also just called wallets, but I'm not native in English, so maybe I'm wrong here. But this is how I look at hot wallets and if they're sufficient. Let me see if there are any other questions in there. I just saw that from Daniel. What's a few trillions among friends? Very true. A lot of people, a lot of trillions amongst few friends. Yeah, then thank you so much, people, for joining me today. Thank you so much for coming in and spending some time with me. We have almost hit the 1,000 viewers mark. We are at 994. So this has been amazing. So thank you so much for everyone that is joining me today. Tomorrow, so all my live streams are Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. Today is Sunday. So today is the only day where I can say, thank you so much for joining me. I'll be back tomorrow with another live stream. Bye-bye. This content is for educational and entertainment purposes only and does not constitute financial advice.